Straight ahead on IU NewsNet, have you had your flu shot yet? We'll tell you about an outbreak on campus.
You may have seen the city post about something in the sewer system. How concerned should you be? More on a spill affecting the South Side.
And how one student is taking the pain of sexual assault and putting it onto a canvas. Just one way she is reaching out to other survivors. IU NewsNet starts now. Welcome to IU NewsNet. I'm Audrey Hausberger.
And I'm Samantha Condra. Those stories in a moment, but first, an update on that gas leak. The leak of gasoline into the Bloomington sewer system is causing concern. Gasoline from a Marathon station has contaminated the Dillman Road wastewater treatment plant. The leak spread more than 3 miles from the Marathon on 3rd Street, contaminating sewage and stormwater along the way. As IU NewsNet's Jonathan Breckler reports, this presents a very real threat to Bloomington residents.
The Marathon gas station on West 3rd Street is currently out of commission due to an underground fuel leak. The city of Bloomington issued a press release early Tuesday morning explaining a hydrocarbon odor, aka the smell of gas, coming from the sewage. The gasoline leaked from the storage tank into the nearby sanitary and storm sewer. While ambulances, fire trucks, and official city vehicles surrounded the gas station for several hours, local residents were not made aware of the incident.
This morning I woke up and there was a bunch of people huddled around, and I was like, what is going on? I'm like, is this getting worse?
As a resident of the Dillon, who lives directly across the street from the Marathon, Patterson said that a simple notice on her front door would have been good enough.
I think we definitely should have been notified.
The leak was stopped by removing the fuel from the storage tanks when a company called Environmental Restoration stepped in to help. The sewage gasoline mixture was sucked out of the sewers through giant hoses and emptied into a giant tank to be disposed of safely.
Everybody knows the smell of gas. Usually you smell it when you're filling up. Now imagine smelling this even when the gas comes off.
That is the reality for many people who live in the vicinity of the gas station. The smell of gas is so powerful that you can smell it from your car as you drive by. City officials are advising residents who smell gasoline in their homes to open their windows to increase circulation and avoid open flames. The fire department has not yet released a time frame of when the incident might be resolved.
That was Jonathan Breckler reporting. Cleanup is underway, but there is no official word when the wastewater treatment plant will be back up and running. Until then, many are left without clean, safe running water in their homes. More on this story on the IU NewsNet Daily as it develops.
Have you noticed how many IU students are sick? IU NewsNet learned nearly half of the women's water polo team came down with similar flu symptoms. IU NewsNet's Max Parker joins us in studio with the story of an outbreak on campus. Max?
Yeah, that's right, guys. Coughing, sneezing, muscle aches, all of it. Is it flu, COVID, or just a bad cold? Lots of IU students are coming down with various forms of a virus. I reached out to see if it's early in the season for all of this illness or par for the course.
It's that time of year again.
Flu season's here. I shouldn't even say that. We're seeing a fairly large amount of flu right now. And we're also seeing a decent amount of what we call RSV, respiratory syncytial virus.
Some students are starting to feel the effects, especially IU's water polo team.
So I tested positive for the flu last Thursday, and there were a lot of girls on our team that also tested positive. So our coaches had to cancel practice on Friday and Saturday to allow us to get better.
The team had to cancel practice due to 7 confirmed cases of the flu. On a team of 25, 15 ended up sitting out of an optional practice because they felt sick. The team made the right call to take time off, something that Dr. Aaron Carroll, IU's chief health officer, hopes to see more out of the general population even as COVID fades as the primary concern.
I had hoped, maybe it'll still happen, that one of the things that would come out of the pandemic is that we would start to take sickness more seriously, that we'd stay at home when we're sick, that we would have better sick leave policies, that we would not go around each other, even if it's just flu or something else, because of course that would benefit everyone.
Perhaps as COVID cases began to drop, people wanted to take a deep breath and ease up on all the various different health precautionary measures. However, as hospitals begin to fill up more and more with flu, RSV, and COVID cases, Dr. Aaron Carroll had a very familiar response to how people can take action.
Vaccination is the best thing we can do. So, if I hope most of us are vaccinated against COVID. I'd recommend getting boosted, but also get your flu shot. I know lots of students wait. Don't go right now. I wish you had already, but go get a flu shot right now. That's your best protection against flu.
So, Max, what can be done to help that?
Well, as Dr. Carroll just mentioned, get your flu shot. In the usual, wash your hands, cover your cough, stay home if you're sick.
I did get mine yesterday with my sister.
Love to hear it.
Thanks, Max. Next Tuesday, voters decide the future of local, state, and national politics, including who controls the U.S. House and Senate. Some say this midterm election could signal the future of democracy as we know it. IU NewsNet's Dominic Hayab tracks student engagement this election season.
On the corner of 3rd Street and Walnut, early voting has begun for the 2022 midterms. Local organizers are focused on tapping into one group of voters that is typically underrepresented, the students. About 4,234 of them are registered for this cycle. New forms of outreach are being experimented with to increase those numbers and to get as many that are registered as possible to the voting booth.
We just wanted better. We wanted better outreach. We wanted more awareness, that we just keep building off of this, because I don't really know that all of this outreach has been done before.
Natalia works with organizations like Hoosier Women Forward and IU Student Government to get more people out to the polls.
IUSG is sponsoring a new initiative with Monroe County organizations that should make getting to the polls a lot easier. The county is providing vouchers for free Uber rides to voting sites. This includes the rides there as well as back.
It's not always obvious why students should care about local midterm elections. Especially for those who are from out of state, they might feel disconnected.
Look at your rent bill. Look at how much you're paying to the county or the city when it comes to food and beverage. How much added are you paying when it comes to tax? And I think what students will see is that these issues are really important to them. They're near and dear. They affect their daily lives, and we need to go out and really voice our mind on those issues.
For IU NewsNet, I'm Dom Hayab.
And as Dom mentioned briefly, for those of you who haven't made the trek yet to vote, let Uber take care of your ride. Uber is providing free round-trip rides to Monroe County voting sites through vouchers. They are available for early voting or on Election Day next Tuesday. Experts say that one of the biggest barriers to voting is transportation and accessibility. The vouchers are available for all Monroe County residents, but the program is targeted for students.
The U.S. Supreme Court is considering overturning affirmative action. That means universities can no longer take race into consideration in admission programs. IU NewsNet's Olivia Oliver looks at sampled student opinion on what happens if the court votes to do away with a longtime policy.
On Monday, the Supreme Court heard 5 hours worth of arguments whether or not to ban affirmative action. And with a conservative majority court, some say it's not a question of if, but when. Sophomore Lean Mahmoud, like many, is shocked by the possibility of it being overturned.
My jaw physically dropped.
Affirmative action is the policy of prioritizing students who are part of marginalized groups, especially Black and Latinx students.
Personally, me as a minority and just other minorities, I think with having disadvantages in life in general, and there are things that like redlining and just with education in general, having affirmative action is a motivational aspect.
Lawyers from Harvard and the University of North Carolina, along with lawyers from Students for Fair Admissions, argued to the court that race as a factor in admissions isn't fair. With a 6-3 conservative majority, it's very possible, legal experts say, that the court rules in favor of these groups. So what would that mean for IU? Right now, IU's degree-seeking student population is 7.6% Hispanic or Latinx and 4.1% Black or African American. Without affirmative action, the number of students of color in an IU classroom like this could get smaller over time. IU senior Janet Roll thinks it's only going to do harm if it's overturned.
It would be devastating. Affirmative action has given minority groups for generations opportunity for higher education, and I think it'd be really sad if that was taken away.
If it is overturned and affirmative action is repealed, universities will still be able to prioritize diversity however they so choose. There just won't be a legal requirement to do so. No matter what the court decides, many have pointed out the irony of it all, that this is the most diverse Supreme Court in history. For IU NewsNet, I'm Olivia Oliver.
After a 5.5-year manhunt, a man has been arrested and charged in the murder of 2 teenage girls in Delphi near Lafayette. He is a local resident, a CVS Pharmacy tech with a wife and a daughter. Police arrested 50-year-old Richard Allen in the murders of 13-year-old Abigail Williams and 14-year-old Liberty German, a case that's gained national coverage. The two went hiking at Delphi historic trails and their bodies were found the next morning about a half a mile away from where they were dropped off by Liberty's sister. She remembers it like it was yesterday.
Yeah, they got out of my car. I made sure they both had sweatshirts, and I told them goodbye. I told Libby I loved her. They walked out, and that was the last time I saw them.
Although a judge said he had found probable cause, the charging documents are sealed as the investigation continues to be ongoing, according to the Indiana State Police.
IU's annual dance marathon for critically ill children at Riley Hospital was a smashing success. They broke the $3 million mark. More than 1,200 committee members and 4,000 students either stood or danced for 12, 24, or all 36 hours, depending on their fundraising amount. The final tally, just under $3,234,000. But the numbers don't stop there. Since starting in 1991, it's the first Children's Miracle Network dance marathon to reach $50 million in giving.
When we come back, the ruling that changed everything for women in sports.
We'll tell you where we stand on the 50th anniversary of Title IX, and you'll learn which former Indiana senator made it all happen. We'll be right back. Some survivors of sexual assault say one of the hardest parts of it all is trying to report the assault while still processing what happened. IU NewsNet's Jessica Walter joins us in studio with one woman's story.
An IU student has come forward about her sexual assault in a fraternity house in response to a video posted by a Purdue student on TikTok. But she says she's taking that pain and trying to help others through a canvas and paint.
She's a friend, a daughter, a student, and
I am a survivor.
Hayden Rivard took her worst nightmare in a fraternity house and turned it into a way to connect with others who may be struggling with the same thing, by painting to tell the story of her sexual assault.
It was kind of me reclaiming my power and, essentially saying, I'm not going to let this take me down. I'm not going to let it do something. I'm not going to let it take more away from me than it already has.
For some, it's not so easy.
It's hard to talk about because the backlash that usually happens when you do speak up isn't positive.
I speak so publicly because I've had so many girls come up to me saying that they have similar stories and telling me their stories and that they feel as if they're not strong enough to report it. But in reality, we all are stronger than we seem.
And it's not always just because of fear. It's because many can't even find justice right here at the courthouse. Or even just right here at IU.
No, I don't feel like there is a future that I will live that a survivor will be able to trust that the judicial system has their back.
The women who come up to me make it worth it. But as of the actual process, absolutely not.
While the fight for justice may be long and hard, and there's still a great need for change, their survivors will not be silenced, and Hayden has one piece of advice to share with others.
Don't feel guilty. don't feel like you have to report. It definitely is a choice for everybody. But if you won't, I will, and I will bring this to light.
Now, Audrey, Samantha, Hayden does sell the art on phone cases and on prints, and part of those proceeds do go to RAIN, which is the National Sexual Assault Hotline.
Now, Jessica, did she report right away even though she knew it was going to be a tough process?
Yes, she did make the choice. She did report right away, but a lot of people don't because they really feel like it's a process to process their trauma and decide what time is right.
Yeah, that's so sad. Thank you, Jessica. The latest sexual assault report is just one example of a delay in reporting. Last week, IU police received 2 allegations of sexual misconduct. The first is from December 2021, a rape case on campus related to domestic battery. The police log does not specify the campus location. In that case, the survivor opted not to prosecute. The second is a reported sexual battery and stalking case from Collins Residence Center. The time frame listed is early September to late October. The case from Collins brings the total number of reported sexual assaults since mid-August to 13.
Universities around the country are celebrating 50 years of Title IX. It's a law that started with an Indiana senator and would wound up impacting college women everywhere, including right here at IU.
This is the sound of collegiate women's sports. But it wasn't always this way. In June of 1972, 50 years ago, a law that prohibits sex-based discrimination in any school or any other education program went into effect. 50 years later, we're still celebrating its benefits.
When you look in terms of opportunity and you look in terms of funding and resources, it's an incredible privilege, an incredible honor to be at a place like Indiana and to be able to benefit through that change.
Title IX allows women to have equal resources on college campuses, but there's also a deeper meaning to that.
You got these little kids who dream of one day being, a Bree Copeland, a Cora Bassett, and you can name whoever it is from any sport. But I think that's dynamic when you can empower a young girl to say, I want to do that.
Title IX has helped give women equal opportunity here on the field and here in the classroom.
Making sure that women and historically excluded groups have access. And when I talk about the resources, I'm talking about like labs, study spaces, making sure that we have access to restrooms, even after hours when you're working all night long.
Katie Seek has been impacted personally by Title IX in collegiate sports and in academics.
It didn't occur to me then, but now I'm like, oh yeah, that's Title IX working. I got opportunities for scholarships. I got opportunities for equal access to resources. My coaches and my instructors for women in computing groups were paid equally.
Though some hurdles remain, Title IX was and is a giant leap toward the finish line for women in schools across the nation.
The late Birch Bayh, an Indiana senator and father of former Governor Evan Bayh, is known as the father of Title IX. His wife, Marvella, was a force behind the scenes in getting it passed.
Indiana was just 3 minutes away from a Big Ten title. What could possibly go wrong? Well, we'll tell you.
Plus, our struggling football team suffers another setback. Out for the season. IU NewsNet Sports coming up next.
Welcome back to IU NewsNet. Brianna Ballog joins us now for IU NewsNet Sports.
Brianna, IU football's coming off of their bye week, and Penn State is coming to town. Last time Penn State was in town, the Hoosiers ended up knocking them off. What about this weekend?
Well, we don't have Michael Penix anymore, so it should be kind of interesting to see how this turnout is. But it's more bad news for the football team. Leading receiver Cam Camper is out for the rest of the season with a torn ACL. Head coach Tom Allen gave the update during a presser on Monday, saying Camper was injured in the first half of the Rutgers game 2 weekends ago and needs surgery. Camper has led the team in receiving yards with 569. That's 260 yards more than the next receiver. He also has 2 touchdowns on the season. Camper's absence means that junior wide receiver Anderson Kobe will need to be on his A game.
He hasn't been quite as consistent, has made plays for sure. Is a very explosive player, just needs to be consistent in his performance. And so that's something that we're striving for every day. He's the guy that this team needs to step up and rise up, and I expect him to, and I want him to, and I believe he will.
This all comes before playing number 16 Penn State on Saturday. Indiana men's basketball hit the court looking good in their exhibition matchup with Marion last weekend. IU NewsNet's Evan Kamikow captured the sights and sounds of IU basketball in this photo essay. The voice you hear will be that of Coach Mike Woodson. Take a look.
Every time you step out on the floor, because I know it works, man. If you defend and rebound the ball, you will be in every ball game. They all came out and performed. You know, we got some work still left to be done, a lot of work.
Speaking of the Indiana men's basketball team, they defeated Marion in their first exhibition game 78-42. The Hoosiers have a second exhibition game tonight in Assembly Hall against St. Francis before they kick their season into high gear. On the women's side, their first exhibition game is tomorrow night in Assembly Hall facing Kentucky Wesleyan. The Indiana volleyball squad was in action this past weekend and went 1-1. On Friday, Indiana defeated Rutgers in 4 sets. Junior outside hitter Morgan Geddes hit a career-high 17 kills. They had a quick turnaround facing in-state rival Purdue on Sunday for the second time this season, and they could not capitalize. This was a season sweep for the Boilermakers over the Hoosiers. However, Indiana has already surpassed their win total in the Big Ten from last season, 4-6. Head coach Steve Arrett is proud of their development.
But for me, winning and losing is, can we be in love with the process and not be emotionally attached to the wins and the losses? And I know it sounds stupid because I'm pretty competitive, but at the same time, it's about the process for me and the growth of the kids, and we've come a long way.
Next, the Hoosiers will travel up to Madison, Wisconsin on Sunday to face the number 3 ranked national defending champions, the Wisconsin Badgers. On Sunday, a Big Ten title came down to the final 5 minutes of the season. Indiana welcomed Maryland to town in the final match of the regular season. After Ohio State lost to Wisconsin, the Hoosiers had a chance to earn a share of the title with Maryland if they could pull off the win. A first-half free kick was dispatched well by Ryan Winterbrink to put Indiana on the doorstep of a title. With just 3 minutes left, Stefan Kopetti headed home across to equalize for Maryland and make themselves Big Ten champs. After the game, head coach Todd Yeagley spoke about the emotions following the late draw.
It's disappointing. You really can't. You can't that much more. You can't BS them and pretend that it's okay. No, it's not fun. When you have this opportunity that you just slips out of your fingers last second.
Indiana finishes 4th in the Big Ten regular season and plays Penn State in the quarterfinals of the Big Ten tournament on Friday at 7 p.m. And that wraps up our sports segment for the week.
Thanks, Brianna. I'm definitely looking forward to that matchup.
Me too, but we have just one more thing before we go. Last weekend, the sideline at the Tennessee football game was the main attraction. If you have not seen this, or even if you have, look what happened with what seemed like a stadium worker. Well, it wasn't a stadium worker, Samantha. It was actually a former male cheerleader who clearly still has the moves.
I just remember when I first watched that video, I was so mad for the cheerleaders, but ended up being a great video.
Yeah, me too. That will wrap things up for now. I'm Audrey Hausberger.
And I'm Samantha Condra. Our thanks to our behind-the-scenes student production team in the control room and in the studio. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at IU NewsNet. Take care, and we'll see you next week.